emergency declarations. The amendment provides that a public body may meet by electronic communication without a quorum of the public body or any member of the governing board physically assembled at one location when the governor has declared a state of emergency. And the declared emergency makes it impractical or for the public body to assemble in a single location. And the purpose of the meeting is to discuss or transact business statutorily required or necessary to continue operations of the public body. An emergency declaration was issued on March 17, 2020 under Governor Northern's Executive Order 53 due to coronavirus. As part of the order, temporary restrictions were placed on restaurants, non-essential businesses, and all public and private in-person gatherings of 10 or more individuals were prohibited. The Portsmouth Redevelopment and Housing Authority a commissioners meeting March 18th, virtual special meeting will be using Microsoft Teams to facilitate the meeting. The Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority Board of Commissioners meetings are held on the third Thursday of each month at 5 p.m. All meetings are conducted, well, today we're doing it at 5:30, 5 o'clock, we're on time. All meetings are conducted at PRHA's main office, 3116 South Street, Portsmouth, Virginia 23701, unless otherwise noted. All members of the public are welcome to attend. So thank you everybody for being here, and we'll take roll call, and then we've got some order of business that needs to be taken care of. All right, so Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call.
Okay. Commissioner Barham.
Here.
Commissioner Koss.
Here.
Commissioner Jiggets.
Present.
Commissioner Prince. Commissioner Roberts.
Here.
Commissioner Wicks.
Here.
Vice Chair Lalonde.
Here. All right, we have a quorum. Thank you very much. At this point, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our Executive Director, Mr. Ed Bland.
Good evening, Commissioners. Afternoon. Due to the fact that we have a vacant position for chairman because the prior chairman was no longer appointed back to the board. So what we want to do is at this point we want to have nomination for the chairmanship of the Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority. Is there any discussion before we want to do the nomination? If not, the floor is open for nomination for chairman for the Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority.
I nominate Bruce Lalonde for chair.
I second.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other nomination? If not, since we only have one nomination, then Bruce Lalonde is now the chairman of the Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority Board. And since Bruce is moving up to chair,
point of order. Even though you only have one nomination and it's closed on the said one name, you still have to take the vote.
Okay, Commissioner. Okay, we have one nomination and we want to go ahead and take the vote on that. So roll call, Madam Secretary.
Okay. Commissioner Barham.
Yes.
Commissioner Koss.
Yes.
Commissioner Jiggets.
Yes.
Commissioner Prince. Commissioner Roberts.
Yes.
Commissioner Wicks.
Yes.
Vice Chair Lalonde.
Yes, and thank you very much. I sincerely appreciate the support of the board. I promise to work hard. I promise to keep you all informed, and I promise to do all that I can in the best interest of Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority. So thank you very much for your support. So thank you, Ed. At this point, I want to introduce our newest commissioner.
And then Vice Chair.
Okay, I'm sorry, Ed. You still got it. I'm sorry, Ed.
No,
I'm
you
still
can do it now since you're
okay.
chair.
Now that I'm chair, and Ed has now pointed out to me, now we need to fill the position of vice chair. So any discussion first before we accept nominations from the floor for vice chairman?
I nominate Rita Roberts for vice chair.
I second.
All right, we have a nomination and we have a second. Is there any other nominations for vice chairman? All right, we'll close the nominations. Ms. Secretary, if you please do the roll call.
Yes. Commissioner Barham,
Yes.
Commissioner Cost,
Yes.
Commissioner Jiggett,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Wick,
Yes.
Chair Lalonde.
Yes. Vice Chairman Roberts, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the vote of support. Thank you, everyone.
You're
I
welcome.
have got to say, and Rita, you and I have been the longest on this board. I think this is the first time on just about any vote we've had that we've had unanimous consent. So thank you very much for everyone's support. I really appreciate that. But again, I want to backtrack, and I'm sorry for. Yes?
Chair, I want to give a charge to the chairman and the vice chair. We've had to deal with some very challenging times in 2020, going into 2021, and certainly each commissioner is to be heard, and I hope each commissioner, and I'm speaking to our newer commissioners, will make sure you familiarize yourself with the conflict of interest document that Attorney James issued to us at the last meeting. I don't know if Attorney James is on this call, but I hope she will make sure, Mr. Bland, will you make sure that our newest commissioner gets that document, please?
Yes.
We'll make sure. We will make sure. Thank you very much. I appreciate that comment, Commissioner Jiggets.
Commissioner Prince here.
I want to mention that these are the regular election take place in September.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yes, Commissioner Prince, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, for the record, I just want to make sure that for the roll call that I'm here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us. I'm glad we're happy to have you. Happy to have you. That gives us a full board, here at the meeting. So that's great. That's absolutely great. Commissioner Cost is our newest commissioner, joining us here just recently appointed. Comes with tremendous PRHA experience, having worked with PRHA. So Commissioner Cost, I want to give you the floor for a couple minutes to introduce yourself.
Hi, I am Zakita. Like you said, I worked for the Housing Authority for a while. Did volunteer, worked as a assistant manager, property manager. I'm still in the property manager field. From Portsmouth my whole life. Went to all Portsmouth schools. I don't have much else to say.
Welcome.
Well, you're coming with some excellent credentials, Commissioner Cost. So we're really looking forward to your contributions. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, we'll move on with the agenda. You have in front of you, or you were sent the minutes from the February 18th, 2021 minutes. Is there any discussion on the minutes? If none, can I take a motion to accept the minutes?
I move that.
Minutes.
Second.
Okay. I got a motion from Commissioner Prince and a second from Vice Chairman Roberts. So, Madam Secretary, if you could again take the rolls.
Sorry, my apologies.
Madam Secretary, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
We need to take a vote on the minutes, ma'am.
Okay. Commissioner Barham,
Yes.
Commissioner Cost,
Yes.
Commissioner Jiggett,
Point of order on the minutes. And I'm not, is Attorney James on the call? Can someone vote for the minutes if they weren't present at the last minutes? At the last meeting?
No, they shouldn't.
No, they should not be able to.
Then I rescind that, but I had the minutes in hand.
Yes.
Right. For the record, this is Commissioner Barham. I will make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Second,
Okay, we'll vote again. Again, knowing that you must have been present at the meeting to be able to approve the minutes as submitted.
All right. Commissioner Barham,
Yes.
Commissioner Jiggett,
Yes.
Commissioner Wick,
Yes.
Vice Chair Robert,
yes.
Chair Lalonde.
Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Bland, whole business?
Have none.
All right. We're going to move to new business. We've got quite a few resolutions to get through. I guess, Ms. Adams, I guess you've got the floor.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yes, we do have quite a few resolutions. There's solicitations that have been out for a few months now, and they're all coming due at the same time. The first one is Resolution 2021-05, authorizing the execution of a contract for renovations of Westbury Pine Street between Portsmouth Redevelopment and Housing Authority and the BA Construction and Financial Group Incorporated. We issued a invitation for bid on 2024-14 on October the 15th of last year, and it's to renovate the 58 units that are in Westbury Pine. That is the first phase of our rental houses out in Westbury. The renovations include, but are not limited to, upgrades of the roof, HVAC systems, and new flooring. So we're gonna do some very extensive work in those units. We advertised on EVA and on the PRHA website. We had over 4,000 vendors receive our advertisement, and they were due in November the 19th. And they were submitted electronically through EVA, and the BA Construction and Financial Group Incorporated was the low bidder for this job. They are a small minority in Section 3 business out of Norfolk. They had limited experience with jobs as large as this, over $1 million. As the prime contractor, they had acted as a sub on for some larger primes, but they did have one contract that was the scope was very similar to what we're doing out in Westbury. That was over $1 million, and that was a contract to do some renovation at the Belle Diamond Manor in Norfolk, Virginia. So when we checked their references, Belle Diamond gave them a very good reference. They did work for NRHA, and NRHA gave them a good reference. And their job, NRHA's job, was similar to ours, but not as large. So after speaking with the architect, and we spoke with the firm, as a matter of fact, we spoke with the owner. We asked for additional information like their financial information, their org chart, and some other information we wanted to help us ascertain whether or not we felt they were able to do a job of this magnitude. We decided to award to the BA Construction and Financial Group Incorporated. Their price came in below, about 16% below our independent cost estimate. So we felt that it would be good for the authority to give this firm an opportunity to do this job based on the recommendations and after we had a chance to interview and speak with them and the experience that they've had so far.
Any questions, comments?
Yeah, just
Yes,
pulled up.
Commissioner Wicks?
Yes, how old is Westbury's units out there?
The units in phase 1 were built around, 2001, 2002 timeframe.
Okay, so is it normal to need these type of repairs? 01, this is 19 years. Okay,
Definitely.
okay,
Yeah, that's quite a bit of time.
Mhm. Yeah.
20
And-
years.
Any other
Okay.
any other comments, Commissioner Wicks, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Bynum, you had a comment?
I was just saying, I took a look at the Bell Diamond Manor website, and it looks like the apartments were done very, very nicely. So I'm excited to see this happen.
Any other comments?
I think I have my hand up. This is
You
Commissioner.
do.
I do.
I can't see your hand.
The little icon
Oh,
next to
yeah.
your name.
All we can see is your face. All we can see is your face.
Okay. Director Adams, specifically, what will the flooring be? Will it be replacing carpet with hardwood, or what exactly? I'm just curious.
Looking at the specs, they're gonna put in luxury vinyl plank flooring,
What's-
and I believe, and they're doing carpet, I believe, in the bedrooms. It's not gonna be all throughout the whole unit.
But at the moment, it's all throughout, right? That carpet.
Carpet and vinyl. There's just regular vinyl, like roll vinyl throughout, and carpet. It's a combination.
But the plan. Okay, thank you so much for
That's
that.
quite an upgrade. That's a great upgrade,
That's a
Dolores.
nice
That's a
upgrade.
great upgrade.
Yeah.
Mr. Adams, who was on the technical review committee that reviewed the contract?
When this was a bid, so this wasn't an evaluation, but when the bids came in, we had the architect as well as Philip Page, our director of development, and his staff look at those bids so that we can, because we wanted to make sure that there was a comfort level, because this firm had only one major job that they were the prime on that was about this size.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from any other commissioners?
Well, Director Adams, you know, I'm pleased to know it's a local company that's getting, and a minority. So thank you so much. As always, you do excellent
With
work.
that in mind, I need a motion for resolution 2021-05, authorizing the execution of a contract for renovations for Westbury Pine Street between the Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority and the BA Construction and Financial Group Incorporated.
I move that we accept the resolution.
I second.
Good. We have a motion from Vice Chairman Roberts and a second from Commissioner Wicks. Madam Secretary, if I get a roll call?
Commissioner Barham,
Did you hear that?
I think he's muted.
Yes.
Commissioner Koss,
Yes.
Commissioner Jiggets,
Terrible feedback going on.
Someone's got a
Terrible
phone
feedback.
on.
Yes.
On this particular motion, I'm going to abstain only because even though my son, he owns a home in Westbury, not on the rental property side, but I'm just going to abstain on the motion. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Prince,
Yes.
Commissioner Witt,
Yes.
Vice Chair Roberts,
Yes.
Chair Lalonde.
Yes. Ms. Adams, you got it again?
Yes. The next resolution is Resolution 2021-06. It's a resolution authorizing the execution of a contract for renovations of Westbury Holly Square between Portsmouth Redevelopment and Housing Authority and Vertexco Corporation. And actually, both of these solicitations went out at the same time on October the 15th of last year. Westbury Holly Square has 59 units, and their renovations are a little more extensive than those that are going to happen in Westbury Pine. They're going to include the roofs and the HVAC system and the flooring, but in addition, they're going to have exterior painting, the railing systems on the porches, and the columns will be also replaced. So they're doing a little bit more extensive renovations. This property was built back in 2004, 2005 timeframe. So this was the second phase of rental units that we did in Westbury. So we posted it in the same places as we did Westbury Pine, and got about 4,000 vendors were notified about it. We only received, it was due the same date on November the 19th. We only received 3 bids for this, which was surprising because you would think if they were going to bid for one, they would bid for both. But one of the firms chose not to bid for this one. The BA Construction and Financial Group was the low bidder for this job. However, in speaking with him as we did, they did not have the capacity to handle both of these jobs at the same time. And so we decided to award to the next lowest bidder, which was a couple of $100,000 more. However, they were still way below our cost estimate of 2.2 million. And the owner was in agreement with that, because the whole idea is we did not want to set this firm up for failure. We want them to be successful in their job with us so that we can give them a great recommendation moving forward to, as they're trying to become a prime contractor. So Vertexco is out of Norfolk, Virginia. They're a fairly large company. They have still a small business, but they're a larger business. They've done work in Norfolk for Rockefeller Apartments. That was an NRHA job. They did Hampshire Properties, so another apartment complex in Richmond. They've done work for VCU and the VCU Real Estate Foundation, as well as some private owners. So they have extensive experience doing these types of renovations for apartment complexes. So based on their references and their experience, we recommend that we award the contract to Vertexco Corporation for the renovations of Westbury Holly Square.
Again, I'll open up the floor to comments or questions that we have for Director Adams.
What street is Holly Square on, Director Adams?
Holly Square is like Armstrong. Some of the units are on County Street. There are the cottages that you see, Bismarck Meyer Crescent and the one across from it. They live 10 cottages on both sides of the street, so it's 20 total. That's all part of Westbury Holly Square.
Okay.
You probably never noticed the difference and thought it was the same, was all the same, but those were the second phase of rental units that were built. And the other is 20 of these cottages and then 39 of the townhouse style units.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions from any other commissioners?
No.
Dolores, did we, Lawrence O's, who's the chairman of that Westbury group, have we let them know that we're going to be doing some renovations to our properties there in Westbury? He always seems to be interested in some of the things we do. I just want to make sure, if we haven't, if we could just drop him a note and saying, hey, we're going to be really doing some work with Westbury, and just invite him to some of the repairs that we're doing. All right. You know what I'm talking about?
There's a Westbury Civic League that we were instrumental in helping to organize. I'm not really familiar with his. Is that a second group out in Westbury?
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
yes, it is. Ed, Mr. Bland's talked to him a few times. So Ed, Mr. Bland has said that he'll reach out to him. But I think just from a public relations thing, to be able to say that we're doing $3 million worth of work is pretty significant. And I think it's, I wish, is our council liaison on? Oh, they've got council meeting tonight. But I think it's something that, Mr. Bland, I'll leave it up to you to get it to the council liaison. $3 million worth of work is a tremendous amount of work. And absolutely. Dolores, I just want to say to you and your team, thank you very much. Thank you. Madam Secretary, we need to call for vote.
I move that we accept resolution 2021-06.
I have a motion from Commissioner Wicks, and I have a second from Commissioner Barnum.
Okay. Commissioner Barham,
Yes.
Commissioner Kosh,
Yes.
Commissioner Jiggets,
I'm going to abstain on this one because of the Westbury connection. Thank you.
Commissioner Prince,
Yes.
Commissioner Wicks,
Yes.
Vice Chair Roberts,
Yes.
Chair Lalonde.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, we're moving on to a different property now. The next item is Resolution 2021-07, and it's a resolution authorizing the execution of a contract for renovations with Seaboard Square. It's Seaboard Square balcony improvements between Portsmouth Redevelopment and Housing Authority and Built with Integrity Incorporated. And we put out a bid for Seaboard Square balcony repairs back in December 23rd, right before we left to go on the holiday break. And it was to do repairs to Seaboard Square. The scope of work initially included the balcony and door repairs, but we added through an addendum a couple of other items, sound panel installations in the community center, because we've had issues with when you're trying to hold a meeting in that building, and some dryer vent replacements. So we had those bids were due on February 4th. When we added the additional items, we had to give the contractors additional time. And we advertised on EVA and on the website. Over 5,000 vendors received notification of this job. We received 3 bids that made it in time. They were uploaded. The bidders are now, we're doing bids strictly electronic. They have to upload them into the system with EVA. The lowest bid came in at $237,000 from Built with Integrity Incorporated out of Virginia Beach. And they didn't, they're a small business, although they did not highlight that on their HUD form, but they are, based on what we were able to determine, because we always do due diligence once we receive these things in. Their price was 8% below our independent cost estimate that had come in at $258,500. This company has done a couple of other jobs. One with NRHA Woodmere Trace. They did a job for Robert Freer, who was an architect out in Hampton. They did work at Ocean Breeze, and they worked with SL Nussbaum. And they actually did a job very similar to what we're asking them to do at Seaboard with replacement of these balconies and the doors. We have some doors that need to be replaced. They're deteriorated. So we expect that we're going to get a good product from this company. He calls all the time, so he's really anxious to start. But based on their recommendations and the reference, we ask you to approve the contract with Built with Integrity Incorporated for the balcony repairs and other work at Seaboard Square.
Thanks, Director Adams. Again, comments from the commissioners, please.
I have a comment.
I don't see anybody make any comments. I just have Dolores. Who was that?
Commissioner Cost has a comment.
Oh, Commissioner Costa, I didn't see you. Yes, ma'am.
That's fine. I didn't know how to push the button. I'm new to this. Okay.
All right, that's fine.
I was looking for it. I just had a question. When I overlooked it the other day, I was just uncomfortable with the price differences. One was 2 something, 4 something, and 6 something. Why is the differences so spaced apart? I feel like, I don't know if they lowballed themselves or they can't do the work.
No, actually, they are closer to our cost estimate. The other prices are a little high, very high. That's why we do an independent cost estimate before we put out a project, so that we can get an idea of where the prices should land. It's
Okay.
it's an estimate, so it could be off, but generally it's not that far off.
Okay. And then, since I was a property manager at Seaboard, I remember having the balconies repair. I guess they was trying to figure out exactly what was wrong. How many balconies actually need repair?
I don't have that. I don't have that in front of me. I have to look at the specifications. But unless Philip knows, because I know they were working real closely with the architect on that. But I have to pull the specifications up.
Yeah, this is Philip Page. There were 16 total balconies that needed to be repaired, but they all did need the exact same repair. There was a matrix that was done to show exactly what the repairs are per balcony, but the total number was 16.
Is that the total number of balconies in Seaboard?
No, ma'am, that's the total that needed repair.
What is the total number of balconies in Seaboard? Do we know that?
I'll have to look that up.
Okay.
Well, I know for Seaboard Square 1, we have 121 units, and at Seaboard Square 2, we have 100 units. So between the two, we've got over 200 units.
All of them don't have the balconies, so.
All those don't have balconies, so that'd be something, if you could come back with us with that answer, Director Adams, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, and of course, you know the reason for the question is because how is it that I don't know the total of balconies, units with the balconies, but I'm just wondering, are we sure it's only 16 that need replacing is my point, or repairing? How do we arrive at just the 16? Because you know how neighbors will see and say, well, wait a minute, mine's. So I just want to make sure that, we're in front of that.
Commissioner Jiggets, this is Philip Page again. I just want to clarify that there are 30 balconies. Okay. So it's a little more than half of the total number of balconies. And to your other question about how we determine which ones needed it or not, the maintenance supervisor, myself, and the contract architect that we brought out, and actually one of his assistants, went balcony by balcony and did a visual inspection and recorded, what needed to be repaired and what didn't need to be repaired. And so we tried to err on the side of caution, but we did actually physically inspect every balcony in order to know which ones needed repair.
But did you have a structural engineer to inspect?
The architect brought his engineer with us, so yes.
The architect brought his engineer, and he was a structural engineer. And the reason I asked the question, because through the years, there have been deaths from balconies that have collapsed. And I just want to make sure that the Housing Authority is protected on this. And if we need to have documentation or structural engineers saying it was only these 16 out of 30, then we want to make sure that we're protected on it. And that's the reason for my.
Thank you, Commissioner Jiggets. Thank you, Philip. Any other discussions?
I do have something else. I think from when I was the manager out there was no problem with the structure. It was more like the water leaking in when it was raining. So they are pretty safe from what I understand.
You're speaking of the balconies?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Cost. That's and I appreciate you having firsthand knowledge like that. That's good, and I appreciate that comment. Thank you.
You're welcome.
With no further discussion, I need a motion. Was there someone else?
That's fine.
I need a motion to approve Resolution 2021-07.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-07.
Okay, and I need a second.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Wicks and a second from Commissioner Prince. Madam Secretary?
Yes. Commissioner Barham?
Yes.
Commissioner Cost?
Yes.
Commissioner Jiggets?
Yes.
Commissioner Prince?
Yes.
Commissioner Wicks?
Yes.
Vice Chair Roberts? Vice Chair Roberts,
You're muted.
Yes.
Chair Lalonde.
Yes, thank you very much. Dolores, you still have the floor.
Okay, the next item is Resolution 2021-08, and we're going to yet another development. This is a resolution authorizing the execution of a contract for fencing at Lexington Place, and this will be between Portsmouth Redevelopment and Housing Authority and Hercules Fence Company. And we issued an invitation for bid back in January the 29th of this year, and it was to install black metal fencing around the perimeter of Lexington Place. It went out to about 500 vendors, and we received bids on February the 18th. We had 3 companies that had uploaded their bids on time. Hercules Fence Company out of Virginia Beach was the most responsive and responsible bid. They have very extensive experience in jobs with a similar scope of work. They've even done work for us before as far as fencing is concerned. Their price was 26% above our independent cost estimate of $175. And like I said, that's why I was saying we do cost estimates, and they are just that, estimates. We love it when they come in below, but sometimes they do come in above our cost estimate. So their price was $220,500. And some of their previous experience and the references we checked include A.G. Horton Cemetery in Suffolk. They did fencing at the ODU SB Ballot Stadium, Peanut Crossing Apartments in South Boston, and at Thurgood Elementary School. So based on this selection criteria and the recommendations from their references, we ask that you approve a contract with Hercules Fence Company for the installation of fencing at Lexington Place.
Thank you, Director Adams. Comments, questions from any of the commissioners?
So, these the same black fences that was around Lincoln Park? It'll go around the entire perimeter?
Yes, but it's gonna look very similar, very similar. But it's gonna be we are looking at possibly using wrought iron this time as opposed to the coated metal, but it will be a black iron metal fence.
Okay, Director Adams, you know where I'm getting ready to go with this, because you know my tombstone will say wrought iron fences, and you know with the Lincoln Park, that was beautiful wrought iron fences. So I know we didn't have the opportunity to include it in a demolition contract with Lincoln Park, but this is a lesson learned going forward. If we come across the situation again, to be able to keep the wrought iron fencing out of the demolition contract, because that's a surplus that we could have used with this project. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Again, I need a motion to approve Resolution 2021-08, fencing by Hercules Fence Company.
So move.
I got a motion, second?
A second.
Yeah, I got a motion from Commissioner Jiggets and a second from Commissioner Wicks. Madam Secretary?
Commissioner Barron,
Yes.
Commissioner Cost,
Yes.
Commissioner Jiggets,
Yes.
Commissioner Prince,
Yes.
Commissioner Wicks,
Yes.
Vice Chair Roberts,
Yes.
Chair Lalonde.
Yes, thank you very much. All right, Dolores, we've got one more, and then we're gonna go into the rest of the agenda. Thank you.
The last item on the agenda is a little different. It's Resolution 2021-09, and it's a resolution authorizing the execution of a contract for temporary personnel services between Portsmouth Redevelopment and Housing Authority and People Ready, Inc. And this was actually an informal solicitation. It was a quotation for small purchase, 2021-01, and it was temporary personnel services. We issued it, we put it out May 5th. We were looking for firms to provide temporary personnel services for the authority. And with quotes, when we do quotes, we have to have 4 quotes. That's what our HUD requires, as well as our procurement policy. And we received quotes from 4 different companies. They actually are companies that provide temporary personnel statewide, but they have special pricing for the Hampton Roads area, which we fall in. So when they were due, we looked at the quotes that we already had, because we already had these quotes in, because most of these companies are on state contract. And I looked at a couple of different categories, because these are the categories that we normally use temp services for. Skilled trade, which is our maintenance staff, and for admin assistance. So those are the areas that we use temps most of the time, although they had quite a few different categories. And based on the dollar amount that came in for what they would charge us, People Ready, Inc. was the lowest of those companies that had provided numbers for those particular job titles. And we've had experience with People Ready, because we had temps that they had provided for us, working for us already. And we issued a purchase order, and our purchase order ran out. So that's what made us decide we had to find something that would tide us through. We intend to later on in the next month or so, we're going to issue a RFP, a request for proposal, for long-term temp services, so that we can have something that'll last us for over several years, because we just never know. There seems to be a major issue getting maintenance staff right now. So we've been advertising for several months, and we have not been able to fill those positions. So we need to maintain our temporary personnel services.
Thank you, Director Adams. Comments, questions?
I move that we accept Resolution 2021-09.
Second.
I have a motion, I have and a second. Thank you very much. Madam Secretary?
Commissioner Barham,
Yes.
Commissioner Koss,
Yes.
Commissioner Jiggets,
Yes.
Commissioner Prince, Commissioner Prince,
Unmute.
Yes, sorry.
Commissioner Wicks,
Yes.
Vice Chair Roberts,
Yes.
Chair Lalonde.
Yes, thank you very much. Dolores, thank you very much for your efforts. Philip, thank you very much. By my estimation, that was close to $3.5 million worth of contracts that we just authorized, some directly involved with the housing. That is just absolutely fabulous, and I appreciate us staying ahead of the game. You know, it's always tough when we do corrective action, but we could do preventive action. That's even better for us as a group. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yes, thank you.
I'm going to pass it now. I don't know if that's you, Mr. Bland, the agency plan update, or is that Ms. Winston?
Big Miss Winston.
That is me. Good evening.
Good evening.
Can all of you all see my screen?
No.
Yeah.
Not yet.
No?
Where is it? I don't see it.
No.
No?
You.
Let me
We
try
see
this
you.
again. Let's try this again. Now,
No.
Yeah,
I don't see this. Is the screen behind you or in front?
in front of me, hold on.
I only
IT is
see
helping me
you.
out. He's helping me out. He's gonna,
Okay.
thank
I'll let
you.
him take. That's
There,
not it.
oh, it's coming.
Okay.
It's coming.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
not the right presentation.
There we go.
Okay.
I got legal notice.
We did try this earlier.
Okay,
You all see that?
yes.
Yeah, yes.
Perfect. Okay. My presentation will probably not be as exciting as Dolores, but we'll move forward. But a couple of you all have been through a couple of cycles with me regarding the agency plan. However, since we do have a new commissioner, Ms. Cost, I did want to go over some basics of the agency plan for her benefit. PHA plan requirements. This plan is required for all agencies administering the Housing Choice Voucher and Public Housing Program. It's a guide to programs and policies, sources of information for program participants, HUD, and the public. Let's talk a little bit about the agency plan process. So the first thing that we do is that we draft the plan. And then we provide notice of the draft plan in the paper. We advertise in Virginia Pilot, as well as at the main office, PRJ Properties, and on our website. And there is also a public hearing required. HUD is really big on public participation. So the public will have a 45-day comment period to review the plan. Also, we have to meet with the Resident Advisory Board. That meeting was held on March the 11th, and their comments will be included in the plan as well. A little bit later during this process, I will tell you some of the comments that the RAD Board had. There's also a public hearing scheduled for you all at a special call meeting on March the 30th. There are two parts to the PHA plan, the 5-year plan and the annual plan. The 5-year plan is submitted every 5 years, and that provides long-range goals for meeting the needs of our low-income families. So oftentimes we plan for the future and we plan, for 5, 10, 15 years. However, HUD does offer the flexibility to make adjustments and amendments as needed. So we'll update those plans on an annual basis as well. And those are strategies for the upcoming year. So there are two parts, the 5 years, which is the long range planning, and then the annual plan updates to that plan. Included in the plan is the HCV administrative plan and the public housing admissions and continual occupancy policy. I'll call this the meat and potatoes of the plan. It's the main policy document and it becomes an attachment to the PHA plan. So now we're going to have a little discussion about the plan. The directors will provide some discussion and updates for their respective departments. First up, you will have our HCV director. She will discuss the HCV administrative plan. Ms. Virginia Jenkins, the director of housing, will discuss the admissions and continual occupancy policy. Philip Page Jr. he's the director of development and capital funds, and he will discuss the upcoming plans for development and capital fund spending. And then you have public procurement by Dolores Adams. And then I will follow up with the comments that were received from the RAD board. So I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, the first change that we're making in the HCV, Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan, is going to be relative to the eligibility or denial of assistance. So HUD has changed the regulations regarding arrest records for our participants. So going forward, denial of assistance cannot be based on an arrest record only. It has to be a conviction. And if you're being denied for participation in a drug treatment program, we will consider before we deny whether or not you are participating in a drug use program to assist you with overcoming the addiction. And chapter 4 is applications, waiting list, and tenants.
Excuse me, point of privilege. Are we supposed to be able to still see the actual PowerPoint presentation, or we're just listening to the speaker?
Just listening to the speaker.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So for applications, wait list, and tenant selection, we have made a change in the admin plan in that regard. HUD has provided designated funds for 3 additional targeted programs. And when I say targeted, I'm speaking of it assists a certain or a particular or specific population. We already have targeted funding for VASH, which is the veterans. And we also have targeted funding for the non-elderly disabled. We have taken on 3 new programs, additional programs. One being the mainstream program, which is for non-elderly disabled families who are homeless or in danger of becoming homeless. The youth, Foster Youth for Independence. This is a program that assists the youth that are aging out of foster care and will become homeless. And the Family Unification Program, and that is a program that is to help families reunite that have been separated due to maybe the children have been placed in foster care, and it enables the family to find stable housing so that the family can be reunited. In chapter number 5, for briefings and voucher issuance, we have added virtual briefings to our admin plan so that we are able to brief families when we do voucher issuance. The pandemic assisted us with that requirement. Chapter 7, we have verifications. Verification requirements are updated to include the HUD database called IVT, which is the income verification tool, and that is used in conjunction with the enterprise income verification requirement for HUD. And of course, PHA can request additional income information if needed in order to calculate rental assistance. Chapter 8, Housing Quality Inspections and Rent Reasonableness Determination. We have added to our HQS inspections the ability to perform inspections by video remote. Also, we have elected to perform inspections biannually. That is a HUD allowance, and so that means that we have to inspect properties every 24 months at least, instead of the 12 months that we were doing previously. And also, an adult must be present for an inspector to perform the inspections. Chapter 10, moving with continued assistance. Previously, families that were reaching zero housing assistance, meaning that they had become self-sufficient and no longer were paying any assistance, if they decided to move from that particular unit, once they reached the zero half and they moved out of the unit, they would not have the opportunity to look for other housing with assistance. HUD has changed that regulation. We can issue a voucher to that family, and we can also enter into a HAP contract, provided that we're paying at least $1 of assistance in the new unit. Chapter 11 is reexaminations. Streamlined certification process is being applied to all fixed households, in which 90% of the income is fixed. If the household also includes a non-fixed income person, verification may be required and an annual may be processed if we determine it is needed. And number 2 for that is generally annual recertifications will be performed by mail and interviews may be performed by email or phone. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Okay. Commissioner Jiggets, is my understanding this will be posted on the website. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. The entire plan website.
Okay.
Yes. It's about 600 pages, so take your time.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I will be providing the changes to our ACOP. In Chapter 3, we have other permitted reasons for denial of admissions. Page 21, PRHA policy states a time frame for criminal activity as being within the past 5 years. We changed that to 3 years. Chapter 3, page 20, PRHA policy states a lifetime denial for any household member that has been convicted of murder. PRHA will remove this denial per HUD guidelines. This is both applicable to both programs, the HCV and the public housing. Chapter 3, page 22, PRHA states we will deny any applicant family if the PHA determines that the family has a pattern of unsuitable past performance and meeting financial obligations, including rent within the past 5 years. PRHA will change the policy to state we will only deny a family that was terminated from subsidized housing developments and pertaining to rent. Chapter 4, placement on the wait list. PRHA policy states an applicant will be placed on the waiting list according to PHA preferences, the date and time, their completion application if received by the PHA. Change in policy to state applicants will be placed on a waiting list according to the lottery and preferences. This also is applicable to both the housing choice voucher and the public housing. Managing the wait list, chapter 4, PRHA states the following information for each applicant is required: proof of residency, mail postmarked within 60 days, forwarding address of documents from U.S. Post Office and driver's license. PRHA will remove the proof of residency from this section. Chapter 4, page 16, local preferences. We changed that description of working families to state, currently the ACOP state working families where the head, spouse, co-head, and sole member is employed at least 30 hours or more per week for 12 months, changing it to reflect 30 hours or more per week for 6 months or working part-time at least 20 hours for 12 months. Okay, chapter 4, page 21, order of selection. PRHA policy states families will be selected from the waiting list based on preferences. We're changing that to read families will be selected from the wait list based on the lottery and preferences. This is also applicable to both programs. Chapter 5, determining unit size. PRHA's policy states we will assign 1 bedroom size for each 2 persons within the household, except in the following circumstances: persons of the opposite sex. PRHA will remove this statement. Chapter 7, verification requirements. We will remove no photocopies. Chapter 7, page 9, we are removing self-certifications must be signed in the presence of a PHA representative or a PHA notary. Processing the interim re-exams, page 14, under the method of reporting, PRHA policy was added as acceptable documentation. This is applicable to both the housing choice voucher and the public housing. Chapter 8, excess utility charges, page 9, for new move-ins. PRHA policy states residents must have all utilities turned on in his or her name within 72 hours of move-in date. PRHA will remove this language and change it to state applicant and or resident must demonstrate the ability to have all utilities in their name prior to the move-in date. I'm almost finished. Chapter 9, changes affecting income or expenses. PRHA policy states we will only conduct interim re-exams only if the annual income has increased $2,400. The PHA will only conduct interim re-exams for families that qualify for the Earned Income Disallowance, which is the EID, families participating in the Family Self-Sufficiency Program, zero minimum rent families, and addition of family members with income. In all other cases, the PHA will note the information in the tenant file, but will not conduct an interim re-exam. This is applicable to both programs as well. Chapter 12, security deposits. PRHA policy states when a family transfers from one unit to another, the security deposit will transfer to the new unit. PRHA will add anyone move-out charges will be deducted from the security deposit and then transferred to the new unit. Chapter 12, transfer list. PRHA policy states all transfers will be processed at a rate of 1 transfer to 5 admission. We will be removing that. Chapter 13, tenant chooses to terminate the lease. PRHA will add, if a resident does not provide a 30-day notice to vacate, the resident will be charged through the notice. Chapter 13, lifetime registered sex offender, page 7. PRHA policy states, should a PHA discover that a member of an assisted household was subject to a lifetime registration requirements at admission and admitted after June 25th, 2001, the PHA must immediately terminate assistance for household members. The PHA will change the word immediately and add 72 hours. Any questions?
Thank
Sorry.
you.
What was
I
that
have one
about
question.
the sex offender registry?
It had in the current policy now, it
Mhm.
said immediate. We just defined immediate and changed it to 72-hour notice.
Okay, to get them out.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, I had a question. It says for your utility charge, how can you demonstrate the ability to pay? What does that mean?
I can't hear you.
How do you demonstrate the ability to pay for the utility charge? So I think your utilities on your name.
Oh, so going to put a new process into place. During the move-in process, they will have to, we will contact the utility companies to ensure that they can put the utilities in their name prior to move-in. So we have a form with the account numbers. So the day of move-in, we'll already have their account numbers on there.
And that was done because we were often finding that sometimes when residents, we go to move them in their units, they couldn't get utilities in their name.
Mm-hmm.
They may have had past due bills or they owed. And so that means that the authority would have to continue to pay for the utilities in their name. So they just have to demonstrate that they have the ability to get the utilities in their name.
So you wouldn't do that before the move-in? Because what if you get to the whole move-in and say, okay, I can't get it on?
That's why it's at move-in,
Yeah.
before the move-in
Before the
process.
move-in.
Doing the application.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks. Mr. Page is next.
Commissioners, the capital fund program doesn't have many changes. The biggest change is there's an additional 2021 CFP allocation. So the 2021 allocation of capital funds is $1.7 million. Those amounts will be allocated to capital improvements of public housing properties, much like what you've approved in the earlier resolutions. So that's included in the plan. In addition to that, for capital fund, there's really 3 projects that we expect to focus our development efforts on, and the commissioners, I think, are already familiar. One, of course, is Lincoln Park. All units have been demolished, and of course, we're rebuilding Lexington Place on roughly half of that site. The other half that is vacant will be looked at to develop, and so we'll expect to do that in 2021. And of course, we'll bring recommendations to the board for approval in 2021. The second development project is Swanson Homes. The board previously approved a demolition application for Swanson Homes. We submitted that in December of 2020, and we're still waiting for HUD's review of that. And of course, if they approve that, then we'll move forward with the relocation of tenants and then eventually the demolition of Swanson Homes. But all of that is, of course, pending HUD's review right now. And then the third project is Westbury Cottages. This isn't a specific change, but it is, there's a RAD program that was made available to housing authorities just recently that we think may have some potential to benefit Westbury Cottages because it's fairly new and because it's a small development. Again, there's no decisions that have been made for that. That's just something that we want to note in the plan so that we can bring that again to the board for consideration later in 2021. those are all the changes that I have for the capital fund program.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Adams? I'm sorry, did anyone have any questions for Mr. Page?
No.
Yeah, I just have questions about the last half of what's happening to the last half of Lincoln Park. But I think I don't know when we get a chance to discuss that. Will that be in closed session?
No, we can discuss it in regards to the agency plan,
Mm-hmm.
the next steps.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Well, we're looking to move forward with phase 2 of Lexington Place.
Okay.
So we anticipate coming back to you all sometime, maybe midsummer, to give you more information on that. But it is our desire to move forward with a phase 2. What that would look like, you know, we're not quite sure, but very probably similar to phase 1.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I have, I guess just maybe a comment about Lexington Place. I have 2 friends that just moved in there, and I went by yesterday and took a look around in one of the units that they're working on, and those bedrooms are extremely small. My one friend, well, both of them said they can't get their queen bedroom set in the master bedroom. And I mean, I know it seems that with public housing, the bedrooms are usually really small, but she says she had to downsize to a full-size bed, and her granddaughter had a full-size bed, who she has custody of, with the dresser and chest and nightstand, and she couldn't get all of that in her bedroom. Just a concern, you know. I'm sure nothing can be done about it now, but those bedrooms are really, really small at Lexington.
It depends on some of the layouts. The rooms are smaller and some are a little bit larger. Of course, the ADA units are larger because they need that turnaround radius as well. We can look at, you know, different designs, maybe in phase 2. If we want to take a look at that going forward, we can look into that.
Sure.
Yes, that would be my suggestion. Definitely to incorporate that into the planning for phase 2. But even today's queen size beds are not as big as they used to be, so I can't imagine how small those rooms are. So
they're 9 by 11. That's the master bedroom. I measured it yesterday. 9 feet by 11 feet, which is really small.
Yeah, that is. Wait, thank you for bringing it.
And, you know, no one really has money to, you know, go out and buy new bedroom suits and stuff like that. So it was a bit of an issue for her. So.
Yeah, I think that's a big issue.
Your comments were noted.
Thank you.
For phase 2.
Okay.
Ms. Adams?
Okay, the procurement policy has a few changes. Most of it's based on changes in both HUD regulations and the state public procurement, Virginia Public Procurement Act. Our micro purchase threshold has been increased from 5,000 to 10,000 per HUD guidance that was received March the 19th, and Virginia Public Procurement Act changes that were effective of July 1 of last year. So although HUD had made the change, we couldn't change because the state had a lower threshold. So once the state went up to 10,000, we were able to update our micro purchase threshold. So it's now $10,000. And then the small purchase threshold has been increased from 100,000 to 200,000 per HUD guidance and the Virginia Public Procurement Act. HUD's small purchase threshold is actually 250,000, but the state only went up to 200,000, so we're capped at 200,000. So all areas that had the $100,000 figure they've been updated to reflect the 200,000. And the language for contract approval for Board of Commissioners was changed from a specific amount to the small purchase threshold. So it's whatever the small purchase threshold is now that they're making changes to it. So this allows for changes to this as the small purchase threshold changes. And this is language that is used in the Virginia Public Procurement Act. That amount now is $200,000. And then our cost price analysis document and procedure was updated to reflect that the Director of Finance will sign all price and the small purchase threshold. Previously, it said the Director of Budget, but that position no longer exists. That is it.
Okay.
Any questions for Ms. Adams?
Nope.
Okay, great. Can you all see that?
Move to work?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. I wanted to talk a little bit about move to work. As you know, we previously applied for cohort number 2, which is rent reform. We have still not heard back from HUD and whether we received that designation or not. However, HUD has given us 2 more bites at the apple should we not be selected for cohort 2. Cohort 3 is a work requirement, and it will test the impacts of implementing a work requirement policy on the PHA and the residents it serves. PRJ will look to implement a work requirement policy in the public housing program, the HCB program, or both programs. So this does not apply, the work requirement would not apply to the elderly or disabled. Cohort 4 is a landlord incentive, and we'll evaluate landlords' incentives and their effect on landlord participation in the HCB program. The MTW designation is an integral part to PRJ accomplishing a number of its objectives related to improving outcomes for its residents and reducing administrative burden. So if we decide to move forward with cohort 3, we're not selected for 2, and we move forward with 3 or 4, we'll have to bring the MTW plan for your approval. So hopefully within the next couple of months, we'll know whether we were selected for cohort 2, and if not, we'll move forward with cohort 3 and 4. Any questions? So proposed action, we have a public hearing scheduled for March the 30th. At that meeting, you approve the 5-year 2021-2025 plan and the annual 2021 Public Housing Agency plan. And then you'll authorize the chair to execute the required certifications. And then you'll submit the final plans. We'll submit the final plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Let me back up because I forgot to tell you all the RAD board comments. I met with the RAD board on March the 11th, and a couple of comments they had for me that they wanted me to include in the plan was that they would like to see more housing for seniors in Portsmouth. They also stated it was a need for more youth activities in our communities. They like the idea of police officers living in our communities, and they would like to see vinyl flooring instead of carpet in Westbury. So I think we're, moving forward in the right direction with the LBT tile. So those comments will be included in the plan. I have not yet received any other additional comments, but if I do, they will also be included in the plan. Any questions?
Yeah, I have one in regards to the elderly housing in Portsmouth. Missed a few meetings. Have we moved forward with the Shea Terrace property?
No, we did not move forward with that due to pricing. After we looked at the amount of work that needed to be done, they were not willing to reduce their price to where we felt that we could acquire the property as well as get the work that was needed done.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Anything else? I am done.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
in a few minutes about goals and strategy for the agency. So thank you very much, Ms. Winston. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Bland?
Okay, Commissioners, you received the February Significant Activity Report. Do you have any questions from that report? If you don't have any today, or if you have any in the future, you can always reach out to me regarding anything that was in that report.
I'd just like to make a couple comments. One, I appreciate the work that everybody's doing on the rate. We're back up to 96%.
Yes.
That's a number that we need to get back. You know, we had started dropping pretty much on the numbers, so I thought that was great that we got the collection eviction number. Obviously, we have to stay very attuned to what's going on with the ability to pay of our tenants. Secondly, I want to draw attention to Adams. I know I had some conversations with you. We've got the upcoming scholarship awards for PRHA. That's always, I think, to be a very personal thing that we do. We do have a 501(c) set up for the foundation. Is that right, Ms. Adams?
Yes, we do. The PRHA Education Fund.
And we give scholarships to not only the youth, but also adults that live in housing, so it gives them an opportunity to advance their education and their personal education. And with that in mind, I had promised Ms. Adams, and I'm going to present it to Mr. Blaine here. Ms. Adams did a check for $1,000 out of my personal funds to support the efforts that PRHA is doing for the education. So thank you very much for an opportunity for me to help provide funds for some really could use the couple dollars to help them with their education. So thank you.
Point of privilege, Chair. Robert's rules, anytime a point of privilege is raised, that's when you pause to allow the point of privilege. Now, let me say this, because I'm looking at the agenda. It appears you're down at the chair comments. Is that where you are? Because I'm
at the significant events report.
Okay, you wanted to make your comments there instead of waiting until the chair comments?
I'll make my chair comment. I'll make my chair comments during the chair comments.
Okay, I'm saying that's different than what you were talking about then. Is that correct?
Yes, I was commenting about this, in the significant events report, there's a comment there about the PHA Scholarship Foundation that they're putting together.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because
page 8 of the significant events report is about the PRHA Education Foundation.
Okay, just, sounded like you in your chairman comments. So, all right, thank you for the clarification.
Mr. Bland?
Okay, commissioners, also on the agenda was several meetings webinars or virtual meetings that I participated in. HUD have many meetings going on during the month, webinars. Portsmouth Partnership had their virtual meeting. We had a virtual meeting with ADP that does our payroll, and we're looking at them do some other stuff for us going forward in the future. Housing Authority Insurance Group, Shannon and myself, we are on various committees with the Housing Authority Insurance Group, and that's who we have our insurance with. And then we had the homeownership webinar that we had back in February. Those were just a few things that I participated in during the month.
Thank you, Mr. Bland.
Mr. Bland, was there something, what happened with the GPDC, Greater Portsmouth Development Corporation? We don't get a report on that. So I was wondering what was happening with that group.
Once they closed out the Holiday Inn site, that group had now been dissolved. Once the Holiday Inn site went back to the city, that Greater Portsmouth Development Corporation had now been dissolved.
Okay, it's good to know.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to now move to the commissioner comments, and I'm just going to, I guess, make a roll call and go by each commissioner that we have. Commissioner Barham, did you have any comments?
No current comments, just happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Cost, did you have any comments?
No, I don't.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Jiggets?
Yeah. My comments are this because Chairman Lalonde, I don't know if you could hear me earlier when I was raising a point of privilege. Were you able to hear me?
No.
I can't hear you now. What are you saying?
No, I could not.
You could not hear. Other commissioners, were you able to hear me when I raised the point of privilege?
I heard you.
Okay, thank you. You know,
You are breaking up though.
well, I haven't said anything again yet, but you know, we have to do things in decency and in order. And when a point of privilege is raised, that's when the chair acknowledges the point of privilege. So I want to say that. And my other comment is as follows. Certainly, we want to formally congratulate our new Secretary of Housing, Urban Development, my soror, Marcia Fudge, and I'm sure she will do an excellent job. She comes with a plethora of experience from local city government all the way to Congress. And so I know she is going to be great for our public housing residents and citizens and each housing and urban development agency. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Prince, it's good having you back, sir.
Yes, I have two. One is to thank the board and the employees of PRHA. And Mr. Bland, I thank you personally for your letter, and it's good to be back. Had a lot of things going on, including the fact that I was out for 2 months with COVID and the flu at the same time. So that's first. Secondly, I'm battling with the city in regards to the trash around Portsmouth at large. I'm personally working with Parkview and doing some cleanups, but before I can do that, or at the same time that I can do that, our properties and the surrounding areas of at least two, one adjacent to the Kroger property, looks pretty bad. And it's not 100% us. It's some of which involves our contracts with the grass cutters that decide that they're going to cut over top of plastic and bottles and everything else, where it becomes grass plus, and that's not acceptable, at least not for me. Something has to change with that. We can't ask the city to beautify and do things that we aren't doing the same. So those are my two comments. And
thank you very much, sir. Thank you. And again, it's great to have you back. Great to have you back. Commissioner Wick.
I'd just like to again welcome Commissioner Cost to the board, and thank you, Deputy Winston and Ms. Jenkins and Ms. Thomas, everyone, for a very informative meeting today. And congratulations, Vice Chair Roberts and Chair Lalonde.
Yes.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Roberts, you're on, ma'am.
I don't have any major comments. I just, I'm interested in sort of making sure that we all feel comfortable with what happens here and how we get things done for PRHA and making sure that our city, you know, advances. While we've had this sort of momentary lull in everything, and we really need to begin to move forward with some of the things that are going to get us on the right track as far as moving ahead and keeping our residents employed and housed and fed and all those important things. So I look forward to working with all of you to make sure that some of that happens.
Rita, thank you very much. Excellent comments. Thank you very much. Thank you. I have a few comments I'd like to make. And again, thank you very much for y'all's support. I really appreciate it. As I said, I'll work very, very hard. When we get to this point, four things here. When we get to this point about commissioner comments, I'd like to also challenge the commissioners to make committee comments. I'm just going to go over the committee assignments that we have them presently. On the Finance Committee, Vice Chair Roberts, you're on the Finance Committee. Yes. On the Development Committee, I got Commissioner Barnes on the Development Committee. On the Human Resources Committee, we have Commissioner Prince and Commissioner Wicks. On the Housing Committee, we got Commissioner Jiggets and Commissioner Cost. I'd like you to consider you're representing us on the Housing Committee. And on the Governance Committee, Vice Chair Roberts, you're on that committee. But I would encourage you before the next meeting to at least reach out to the points of contact at the staff here. We can drill down a little bit further in some of these things and resolve some of the issues if we are all informed, and for y'all to bring those comments from those. We've got great staff, and I really would like you to work closely with the staff, and we move forward as we go with the committee comments as well as commissioner comments. Secondly, while we were talking today, the new city manager has been selected by the city council. It is the woman from Gaithersburg, Maryland, who was the city manager of Gaithersburg. As Vice Chair Roberts had spoken, now we have a point person to talk to. I'm going to challenge our executive director to establish that relationship with the city manager, to make sure that they know about the goodness that the PRHA is going, and also to ask him to work with the city manager to get us back to talking with the city, having a sit down with the city council. We have not met as a board with the city council in almost a year and a half, almost 2 years. I think it's important since they appointed all of us that they hear what we're doing, and also to get from them, not only from the two liaisons, Vice Mayor Barnes and Councilman Battle, but we also get the feel from the total council on where we want to go. We've talked about a few things: senior housing. We've talked about the move to work. We've got some great programs that we want to bring, and we want to make sure the council knows about it. Lastly, I'd like us to look at a half a day, sometime June, July, August, that we kind of take a pause and talk about, those issues that are one that you're concerned about, that we should be concerned about as a board. I would ask that before the next meeting, if you could send Ed those 3 things that you're concerned about, those goals that you'd like to have, so we can kind of pass those around and say, okay, these seem like the 3 or 4 things that we as a commissioners want to take on. We got a lot of smart people. We got a lot of people with a lot of background here in the city of Portsmouth. I think it's important that we have a direction on where we would like to go and pass that to the executive director to execute, and also forms that basis for any changes we want to do to the agency plan. So this is a good time to do that. So that kind of like is my goals is, one, that communications with the new council and communications with the new city manager. So with that, those are my comments. And before I go and ask for public speakers, anybody else have anything? Oh, by the way.
Yeah, who is our city liaison now?
Councilman Battle is our primary liaison, and Vice Mayor Barnes is our secondary alternate liaison.
And have they been in the meeting since January? Not that I'm one to talk.
Sir, Vice Mayor Barnes has been on both of them. I was remiss to know that they had a council meeting tonight. I'm sure one of the 2 of them would be here, but they've been very, just so you know, Commissioner Prince, he's been very active and very attuned to what we're talking about.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. All right, PRHA rules allows speakers up to 5 minutes to speak. I don't think I saw anybody outside of the commission. Now I need to we need to go into closed session. And I have a resolution of intent to meet in closed meeting, whereas the Virginia Freedom of Information Act provides the Board of Commissioners can meet in a closed meeting for the discussion or consideration of disposition of publicly held property where an open meeting would adversely affect the bargain position or negotiating strategy of the public body as set forth in section 2.2 of the Code of Virginia as amended. For the matter discussion is the disposition of real property located in Prentice Park. And whereas the Virginia of Information Act provides that the Board of Commissioners can meet in a meeting for the consultation regarding actual or probable litigation with legal counsel briefings by staff, where such consultation or briefing in an open meeting would adversely affect the negotiation of or litigation posture of the public body, as also set forth in section 2.2 of the Code of Virginia as amended. The legal consultation pertains to litigation involving a personal injury claim. Now, therefore, be it resolved that in compliance with the Virginia Code of Information Act and the above referenced sections of the Virginia Code, the Board of Commissioners shall convene in a reconvene in a closed session on March 18, 2021 for a briefing of a legal matter pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2 and discussion of the disposition of real property pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2. All right. So at this point, we'll close out here and come back in the closed session.
Don't we have to vote?
Yes.
I'm sorry, ma'am. You're exact. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Okay. I make a motion
Secretary?
that we accept
Yeah.
the resolution.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Chair Roberts and a second by Commissioner Wicks. Madam Secretary? Madam
You're
Secretary?
muted.
You're muted. You're muted.
Commissioner Barham,
Yes.
Commissioner Cost,
Yes.
Commissioner Jiggets,
Yes.
Commissioner Prince, Commissioner Prince,
Yes, sorry.
Commissioner Wicks,
Yes.
Vice Chair Roberts,
Yes.
Chair Lalonde.
Yes, thank you very much. We'll see each other in just a couple minutes.
Okay.